Sound check, sound check. And getting ready to go. In 3, 2, 1. How do y'all like the new intro? It's really just a channel trailer. I'm not making this an intro, I don't think, but I want to try something new. Oh, that looked good. All right. Woo. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's a little after 8 o'clock here in Central Midwest here in the U.S. Thought I'd try a little bit of a different arrangement here. I have my Blue Yeti microphone that I've been using for some video editing here as my live stream camera or my sound. It sounds better than the webcam audio. I think it sounds more full, more clear and crisp, but it also carries ambient noises around the room. So that's the downside to it. So cheers, pros, skål to all those out there. Happy 2019, the end of, that is, starting a new year in a couple days. Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, all that stuff for those of you who are into other things. And Happy New Year coming up. So toast again. Cheers. Oh, that's good. All right. So let's see what we got in the chat already. Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, everybody. Let's see. Everyone's saying hello. I changed some YouTube settings too. I was trying a lower latency option here to see if it will improve my responses faster for your questions, because normally the normal latency is quite long. It's about a half minute or more. So I'm trying a lower latency setting that might give some bandwidth problems. We'll see. We'll adjust, hopefully. All right, and I don't think I actually need this anymore because I got my sound dialed in just nice. So let me put that out there. All right, so anyway, pardon me. All right, so again, the end of the year, I haven't done that as many live streams this year as I thought I would at the end of last year. I think if I go back and watch last year's end of year video for 2018, I might have had some forecasts of things I wanted to do, and I may have done some of it. Other things I may have not even gotten around to. It's just what life is. Life gets in the way. Busy, right? I have a whole other life besides this. This is just a fun thing for me. So, and can't have fun every day, all the time even, although we wish we could. All right, let's see. Let's take a look here. What somebody's signing in here. All right. Got a dry hop cider in hand. All right. Yeah, I have my Vienna lager. It's a little bit fogged up, but it's delicious. I love Vienna lagers, man. I made 10 gallons of it in that live stream I did before, right? And I did a follow-up video on the tasting of it. And between then and well now, I had a party here at my house. It was just an hour long because we have a progressive Christmas party where we go from one house to another, and everyone showed up here and drank and killed a 5-gallon keg of my Vienna lager. So I have probably a half a keg left here. I'm trying to ration it a little bit. I haven't brewed in a while. I've just been, like I said before, quite busy. Let's see. So cheers to y'all. Drinking Two Hearted. Nice. I like Two Hearted. Well, you should probably know I like Two Hearted, right? I did that clone video. and how I pine how much I love Bell's Two Hearted. So, but yeah, I would love to get my hands on that again. The Hop Slam is coming out. I just saw an ad from Bell's. It's that time of year, about another month, I think. We're going to start seeing some Hop Slams on the shelves. And I'm not sure if I'm just going to go out and buy it or if I'm going to try to brew it again, because the brewed version was awesome. It's hard to find some of the canned versions too. They kind of clear off the store shelves relatively quickly. Let's see. Like the new intro, Ryan? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's something I put a poll out about a few days ago, right before Christmas, asking what you thought of my new channel trailer and possible intro for my new videos. And that was one of the topics I wanted to, I guess, bring up. I mean, the survey results. If you go back and look at that poll on my YouTube channel in the community section, about almost 3/4 of you liked the new intro and trailer combination. Some 15-20% of you thought, well, you like it as a trailer, but not as an intro for every single video. And some of you, of course, you dour folks, didn't like it at all. Just kidding. But I've been doing this channel since, 2011 or 12, I think 12, maybe the spring of 12. And it's coming up on 8 years then, right? So I was getting kind of tired of, even myself, as I edit and as I edit my videos in post-production, seeing that same intro play over and over again as I'm scrubbing through the timeline, it was really starting to get me sick too. So I had to find time to make a new trailer with some new video. A lot of that footage, I've done several versions of that intro with the same music. If you go back to some really old videos, I got different little cut scenes of different old videos, but with the same music. I finally thought I'd shake it up and get some new music, new cut scenes. It's all kind of coincided because I've been trying to switch video editing software, getting away from the prosumer grade Cyberlink Power Director that I've been using for about 2 to 3 years now, which was an upgrade from what I used before. And before that, I've gone through a lot of these different mid-range tools. I've done a month trial of Adobe Premiere. Can't say I was a fan of the whole cloud pricing model, quite frankly. And so I came along this free professional grade all-in-one software called DaVinci Resolve, which is used to make lots of movies and shows. It's proven, it's professional grade, which means it can do everything, or if not everything, almost everything. The downside is very complicated to learn, and I've been struggling for about a year off and on trying to get myself immersed in that to start making videos. So my first video with that was the Firmzilla first impression video, right? I just did a couple videos, or maybe it was my last video. That was the first video. So I got more in the pipeline with this new tool, but it takes a while to learn a new editor. But while I was learning a new editor, you have to kind of redo all your bumpers, your lower thirds, all the different on-screen stuff. And you have to do all that over again. So I've been trying to learn, haven't done a lot of videos because of that. I've been just in learning mode this fall and winter, trying to come out in 2020 strong, not have to worry about the software or the hardware. In fact, I have to worry about the hardware now too, because I realized my main PC was about 5 years old, my home-built PC, which was upgraded previously from other old components. So it was kind of this hodgepodge Frankenstein monster of a quad-core AMD chip with 8 gig of memory. Right, so I decided I just now got it running off camera before I went live. A 16-thread Ryzen processor with a new motherboard and 32 gig of high-speed Corsair Vengeance memory. Anyway, if you're into that IT stuff, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'm boring the hell out of you. But I'm trying to get everything up to a new level here, so I can start the new year right and not have to worry about the back stuff, like I just mentioned, like the video editing, the hardware, and all that kind of stuff. And they can focus on actually doing stuff and actually filming it. Let's take a look here. It's been a while. Oh, Paxton, I haven't seen you in a while on here. Yeah, it's been a while, Ian. Let's see. Hey, Brian's on. Short Circuit of Brewers. And Brian, it looks like you're still tagged as moderator. So, if you don't mind, if you're sticking around. If you're not, let me know. I'll find someone else to step into, hopefully, here. Let's see. Because we always need moderators on this stuff. I mean, the trolls are ruthless sometimes. Let's see. Let's see. So what's new for the new year on the channel? That's a good question. I was, last year, I think, when I did this, and maybe the year before, I was a little more organized. I actually had an outline or a napkin with something written on it, trying to walk through what it is I was planning on doing. I think if I review last year, I reviewed some channel stats. I reviewed, which I didn't compile here. I can go over them live if you'd like. I think I gained close to 20,000 new subscribers since the beginning of the year. That's great, awesome. But I had gained 20,000 the year before, and I was trying to see if we can like increase the rate of that. To see if this channel can be the first independent homebrewing related channel that breaks 100,000 subscribers and gets a silver play button on the back of his wall. Huh? Wouldn't that be cool? But pipe dream. But for the new year, I think this last year I said I was going to get some new camera gear, which I did. I got a webcam that you're watching me through. I got this Yeti microphone. I'm building a new video editing PC. I got some wireless lavalier microphones to do interviews and twofers. So when Chad comes over and talks, or if I do one-on-ones with anyone, we actually have wireless lapel mics that all channel into the same audio feed to get good audio. I haven't invested in anything else. That sounds pretty good. Changed video editing software, just like I mentioned. So for as far as what I'm going to be doing this coming year, I'm going to try to get back to doing some food videos more and more, and some more brewing videos, but I have to temper my pace because I got this GERD issue that's been bothering me more and more over the years, and I'm not supposed to be drinking after like 7 p.m. Well, it's an hour later, I'm still drinking, so I'm gonna be paying the price for that tonight. But I have to like back off on the food, back off on the booze, back off on the beer, all the fun stuff, right? In order to get healthier. So I have to try to balance my real life needs with my wants to do with this stuff and my hobbies. Try to find that balance, I guess. I'm not sure where that lies yet. Let's see. I am drinking a Vienna lager bread, in case you didn't hear me earlier. It's my homemade lager, the one I did that brew day live stream a couple months back on. I still got some left. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Balvenie Scotch in the background, Alan? Yes, sir. Ta-da! Right there. I haven't opened it yet. I got a number of other bottles of whiskeys, scotches, bourbons, and ryes that I already have open. I don't want to keep too many bottles open at once because I don't want them to oxidize over time and like go bad, if that's possible. I don't know, but I'll get to it. Mike from Everyday Barbecue and Cooking. If you guys, hey Mike, how's it going? Happy New Year. Yeah, you two and your family. We got to get together again and do another video collab. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, back in the spring, Mike had come over to my house and we did a couple different brew videos. Not brew videos. You drink my brew. We did a couple cooking videos on the new Kamado I got right at around that time. So we can try to do that again when the weather improves. Him and I both live in the same area, relatively, within an hour's drive of one another, but we're in the same climate. So if it's crappy and snowy outside, the incentive to want to go out and shoot a video all day is not that great, right? So we'll wait till it gets a little bit warmer. I think we could try to do something then, yeah? Let's see. What else we got here? Yeah, I'm back. Thanks. A lot of well-wishing. Thank you guys. Merry Christmases and Happy New Year's to you all as well. Okay, so I got a question here. Will you brew some more German or English style beers next year? Maybe more lagers? That's actually where I've been going. If you've been watching my past several brews, going back to late summer till now, have all been lagers. I've done a Munich Helles back in August or September. Then I did the Märzen or the Oktoberfest lager just in time for Oktoberfest. Then I did this Vienna lager. And I'm doing it more and more now because I have a few different pressure vessels now that I can use as fermenters, so I can do lagers at room temperature. I've done several videos now on those, right? But I also, because I got my new Kegerator over here, now that was something else I did this year. I got a new Kegerator, right? And I went ahead and took my old Kegerator and put it off the camera back over here, and I use it as a spare fridge to store large, foods like turkeys for Thanksgiving, or large cuts of meat for like dry brining. I also want to use it for as a fermentation fridge, which I have yet to do. So I still want to do a lager, the traditional method with the long-term lagering, right, and the cold fermentation. So yes, lagers. That's what I'm looking forward to doing more of. I've also been meaning to do some English style beers. I mean, I've done a brown ale, English style brown ale. I'm thinking more like just going back to basics, like a nice English mild, English bitter, those kind of beers. Don't think I've ever technically brewed one of those, although I was drinking many over the years. I might try something like that. Not sure where the future leads. I always want to try new things. And by the time I actually get around to wanting to make a recipe I've been wanting to make for months, the seasons have now changed, and that high gravity, hoppy imperial stout I wanted to brew in November, that's now like March, and I'm ready to brew my spring beers. So I kind of shelve those again and come back at them again, like the next cold season or the next time I want to make them. So I'm just wishy-washy about all that. Let's see here. You tired of the old intro too, Derek? Yeah. I was getting tired of it. I just want to do something new. I was thinking about not doing a video at all, an intro in any of my videos, and just go right into content. One of the reasons for the half-minute long intro is to try to grab the attention of new viewers who are not yet subscribed, right? Because you wanted to say, hey, here's who I am. I know you searched on me and found me up about topic X or topic Y, but here's what else I can do if you stick around, and maybe you'll subscribe. That's kind of what I've been trying to do with that. But I think I'm going to try to selectively use those intro video intros, I guess, for lack of a better word, for those type of discovery content videos. For those of you who don't know about the types of videos that YouTubers make, there's I forgot the actual count. There's a few different ones, and one of them is called a hero content, where it's like you're trying to draw new viewers and do long format videos of how to fix a real problem that people are searching for, and you provide that to them, and you bring them into your channel and hope they subscribe. There's also the content for the regular viewers that watch you all the time that you do for them. So I think I have an idea where if I may want to add that whole long intro in, I think I have an idea what types of videos I'll do those in and which ones I won't. And you probably will tell yourself from watching them going forward. Let's see what else we got here. I think I skipped way forward here. We're real touchy. Okay. Christmas ale ginger beer. Brown ale with gingerbread spices. Oh, that sounds interesting, but I don't think that's my thing. I've never been a fan of so-called winter ales or pumpkin beers or spiced ales, Christmas beers, because I just like a plain beer, water, barley, hops, maybe a couple things, but I'm just not a big fan of like heavy spices in beer personally. So I hope it's good. All right. So what else we got going on here? Yes, I'm in Chicago. Half Acre. Yeah, Half Acre is one of my, it has been for the past couple of years now, probably one of my more favorite local breweries in the area. I've tried most of the beers I can find on the store shelves, even the seasonal ones when I can catch them. The only one I never liked was the Pony Pilsner. I just didn't much care for that one, but their tuna, their Daisy Cutter, the Vallejo, I think it is, all great beers, awesome. So if you're around Chicagoland, Half Acre's got a good reputation for decent beer. Let's see. Did I score any Bourbon County Stout this Black Friday? I did not. I actually slipped my mind, but I have a way to get it. There's a local liquor store about a quarter mile from my house, just basically around the corner, that keeps them there. But a lot of his clientele aren't looking for Bourbon County Stouts. They're looking for that 6-pack of MGD or whatever, right? So they're not even looking at what he's got in the back of the store. So I go in there and I'll clean them out probably maybe tomorrow, now that I'm thinking about it. But the downside, not only are those beers expensive, this guy at the store jacks up the prices for them because he knows that they're almost all gone already. So it's a trade-off trying to decide if I want to buy one. Honestly, I was a little bit disappointed in last year's harvest. I think I bought a half dozen or more of the different flavored Bourbon County bottles, and only a few of them I actually enjoyed. The rest were kind of meh. And also, I happen to have a bomber of New Holland's Dragon's Milk alongside these things, and I find myself liking that better than some of the Bourbon County stouts, and it's a fraction of the price. So maybe I will, maybe I won't buy some. Now I'm talking myself out of it, for crying out loud. Let's see. No, Brian, no more squeezy buns. My whole video, I had a scene where I was trying to squeeze my fresh, because I made homemade burgers with homemade buns, and the point of the squeezing the bun in the main video that I did it in was to just show that how squishy and soft the bread was. I didn't know it was going to be some sort of soft porn for some of you guys watching the intro. But beard is looking good from Alan. Yeah, well, yeah, I've been trimming it, trying to keep it a little short. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it long term, but I've had it most of this year, I think, already. So we'll see how far I can take it. The real test will be when it comes into the hot weather next summer, and I'll be just sweating up a storm, and I'll be cutting my hair short again and shaving clean, probably until the heat subsides, or at least the humidity. Okay, so the question here from Brian O'Hearn. Larry, I want to know more about doing a lager using pressure fermentation and no temperature control. Think about buying a conical, but I want to know before I do. Yeah, well, okay, so I've done, I think, 3 videos now on that, to different level, or 4 videos maybe, on different levels of detail. It's pretty straightforward. You can go back and watch those, maybe comment and question there for more information. It's pretty easy to do, honestly. It's just amazing. But you need a pressure vessel to do it and a spunning valve to control the pressure. Now, the other half of the question about buying a conical, that's entirely up to you. You probably already know my opinion about conicals. Spoiler alert, they're not necessary for homebrewers. You can harvest yeast from a carboy. You can leave your beer on the tube for the entire time it's sitting there before you keg it. It's never a problem. The whole conical fad, still not sure why that's still a thing among homebrewers, but that's just my opinion, right? Don't get me wrong. It's your hobby, your money, your way of working. Go for it. But if you're thinking that you need one, you don't. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Brian gave Brian some pointers. Excellent. Ryzen 9, good choice. Yeah, Thomas. Yeah, I'm too cheap. The Ryzen 9 was like over $500 for just a CPU. I bought the Ryzen 7, the new one, the 3800X, which is in some benchmarks kicks the 9's butt, or the Threadripper's butt, not 9, but the Threadripper version of Ryzen. Anyway, but for DaVinci Resolve, I wanted the higher clock speed with fewer cores, because there's some parts of video editing in the special effects department. There's this part of DaVinci Resolve called Fusion, which is similar to what Adobe calls their After Effects, which is where you do all the special effects and compositing, and it prefers a higher CPU count and less on the cores. So going into details, that's my habit, but I wanted the 3900, just didn't want to spend an extra $150 for it after the reviews I read about the software I would want to use it for. But yeah, Ryzen, I'm totally excited about it. Let's see, I know you're a mechanical engineer, but what do you do at the company you work for? From Ryan, yeah, well, yeah, it's hard. It's so hard to explain now, because I went to college, started working as a mechanical engineer in aerospace, and then got out of that and went around the horn to a lot of different industries, from automotive to medical devices to consumer products to high energy particle physics at Fermilab. I was working there on their experiments to discover the secrets of the universe, right? Which was pretty cool at the time. Still cool today, I'm sure. But I don't do engineering, mechanical engineering, or any real true engineering anymore. The past year, well, actually for the past several years, but my new job is full-time. They call me a principal solution architect, So I work with customers. Currently, I have one main customer now. I don't want to mention them because it's just one of those things I shouldn't probably talk about in this forum. But I worked for a software company at Siemens. Siemens PLM was their old name. They have a new name now, Siemens Digital Industries Software, and we try to match up not just our suite of software from A to Z, from our CAD and analysis software all the way through the PLM product life cycle arc, through ERP, and maintenance and overhaul, and just the whole general life cycle. And we try to like help the customers adapt their processes and use our tools the most efficiently for that end-to-end process for their needs. That's probably the shortest way to say it. So I'm basically a consultant now. I don't do much engineering, but I focus on business processes and the software and IT infrastructure required to get it there. Let's see. So pressure, let's see. Sipping on my zombie dust recipe now. Oh, good. So is it Kai Ash Blake? Good, man. Good on you. Zombie dust is a good beer. Well, it is a good beer. I'm not sure I don't know how to approach this. For years, when Zombie Dust first came out, I think it was in the early 2000s. I think it was about that time, and that was one of the first beers, or maybe the first. I don't remember with any confidence that was the first, but I think it was the first I ever had beer that had citra hops in it, and it was really a kind of a hopped up pale ale that had that citrus from the citra that was new and in demand. Nowadays, every Northeast or New England IPA out there and other styles are using citra like crazy. That there are great examples above and beyond Zombie Dust today, but I'm nostalgic for it, and my homebrewed version I think is as good, if not better, than the store-bought. In fact, the store-bought stuff, I've been a little bit disappointed. I actually walked past a case of Zombie Dust the other day at the liquor store. I just was like, oh, Zombie Dust. Well, there's other better beer over here, and off I go. So I found myself doing that. I'm like, I never did that in the past. So, but the homebrew version, awesome. So I'm glad you like it. I've been thinking about brewing a variant of that again. In fact, I got an invite. I hope it's still in the works, but there's a brewery in I think about northeast Indiana, in Chesterton Brewery. They were wanting to work with me to come out there for a brew day to help them brew a batch of one of my beers on their system and have a meet and greet with you all. If you're in that area, we have a date in mind, but that could move. I think it's currently like February 8th, but that's tentative, so don't write that down in pen just yet. But that might be one of the beers we may end up wanting to try to brew with maybe a name change to avoid any kind of legal issues with Three Floyds. But anyway, so I'll have more information about that event as we get closer, and we can narrow down what's going to happen. But basically, I'm going to be out there on a Saturday. Chad and I probably both will be there. We'll brew one of my beers skilled up to a 1-barrel system, and we're going to put it on their taps eventually. But during that day, I'm going to probably do some meet and greets. You guys come out and have some beers, and we'll hang out and socialize just like this, but actually in person, right? Wouldn't that be cool? So if you're curious and interested about that, get a hold of me. Facebook, Instagram, email, whatever you want. Just show me what your interest is and how to get a hold of you, and I'll add you to actually an email will probably be best. I can make an email list, but either way, reach out to me somehow. I'll get your contact information, and I'll put together a distribution list of some sort, and I'll send that out when I have more information. So if you're in Northwest Ohio, Northeast Illinois, Northern Indiana, Southwest Michigan, you might want to maybe come hang out with me for a day. Okay, let's see what else we got here. My old live brew day, yeah, that brew day that I did back in I think November, that actually was fun. I want to do another one, but I haven't brewed since then, and so I would like to do another one. Just having a flashback, boy, that was fun. the downside, though, of course, you didn't see this, or maybe you saw it in the last closing moments. But I mean, I was burned out. I was zombified. I think I was starting to mumble at the end of that day. so it's tiring to be live for 6 hours straight. So I would like to do it again because it was fun. Time basically did fly until I turned the camera off, and I just crashed. I was so tired. But I'd like to do it again. Yes. Any experimental beers you're thinking about? Yeah, I got one on my mind, but I'm still trying to decide if I should do it or not. So if I do it, I don't know. This is the season to do it, though. This is like my indoor season. This is my experimental season in theory, because as you all know, I don't have a water supply and a floor drain in my garage where I have to brew all this stuff, right? So I have to bring the water out from inside the house in the wintertime in buckets, and that's just not the brewing water. That's the wash water, the rinse water. Then I have to bring it back in the house to dump it out, or find a spot out in the snow to dump it. But I can't pour it on my driveway because it will freeze my driveway. All that wintertime hassle. So rather than brewing large 10-gallon batches, I think I've been wanting to do more like 5-gallon, maybe 2 or 3-gallon experimental batches, either with the Grainfather or on my stove with that sous vide stick, or just stovetop, right, brewing. Maybe try a few things, right? But what, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Let's see. Brian says, it looks like Spike's about to get more of my money. You gonna buy one of those Flex Pluses then, I guess? Or yeah, I mean, it's a good device. It's on the floor over here, but it hasn't let me down yet. And it's much simpler than a conical because it's just a cone-shaped bottom. I don't have to have all these extra parts above all the current parts it has to put it all together. Which is one of the downsides. You have a lot of parts that, disassemble, wash, clean, and reassemble. But it's less parts than a full-size conical, so it's kind of like splits that difference of complexity between like a basic carboy and like a full-blown conical. The real downside, and the only one that I can think of beyond parts, is the fact that when you put the butterfly valve on the front of the thing with the racking arm, it protrudes quite a ways. So you have this round device, and this shape comes out the side of this thing about almost a foot, it seems. Not really a foot, but it feels like it, which makes it hard to put into a fridge or a keezer if you don't have enough space to turn that thing when you put it in there and close the door or whatever your setup is to get it in there. I couldn't do it. So my Spike Flex Plus is forever going to be on my basement floor for everything it makes and not in a fridge. But so far so good. Let's see. Can I crank up my mic a tad? Yeah. You know what? I can do that. I actually had it turned down because I thought it was kind of loud. Is this better? I turned it up a few notches. Let's see. My brat video. Yeah, I forgot I did that. Yeah, I think I did a brat video. Well, I did a few sausage videos, but I think the brat one you're talking about is the one I did on that Broiler King keg. Yeah. That's the way I like to cook brats too. You parboil them or poach them, right, for a while. You use beer. You can use stock of some kind, some flavor and some herbs, whatever, and you parboil them, and then you crisp them up on the edge of a medium hot grill. So you get a bit of a crispiness, you get the smokiness of them simmering the poaching liquid, and you get the juiciness from them being cooked and parboiled in a poaching liquid. So you kind of get the best of all the worlds there when you cook them that way. I haven't found a better way yet to make sausage. Let's see. Good bad. Let's see. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get caught up here. Yeah, so hey, Brian at Short Circuit is talking about Jake and about his any IPAs that have all been pressure fermented. Actually, that's a good point. I don't think I've done any IPA since last winter maybe, and that was before I got the Flex Plus. I think last time I did it was in a Fermentosaurus, or was it a Carboy? I gotta try that now. I think I gotta do one, because one of the advantages of a pressure vessel is you have the option and ability to do a closed system transfer quite easily right to a keg. Now, I did a video about how to do a closed pressure or open pressure transfer from a carboy to a keg, but I think this is one step better than that. And the reason for that is that you want to keep as much of that volatile aroma, that delicious tropical fruit aroma, like in the beer. You don't want it going up to the air while you're racking. So definitely a big bonus. I think I might do that now, Brian, too. Yeah, I might try that on the Flex Plus maybe this winter. Let's see. All right. Making a Kegerator. How do I clean my Kegerator and lines? Well, I got into a habit of doing it a certain way like a dozen years ago when I first got a Kegerator, and I haven't really done it much differently then, other than a few little tweaks with these new taps, right? I did I would say I did a cleaning video on Kegerators, though, but I did a video on my new taps, and that kind of helps. So what I like to do, and I'm wanting to switch it to a new method that I've been wanting to do, but currently what I do is I'll take an empty keg and I'll add about a gallon and a half or two of water, hot water, and some cleaning solution like PBW, and I'll run that through the lines, and I'll let it, and then I'll shut the line off and let it stay overnight or for several hours, and let the PBW inside the line soak, just like you would if you were soaking a used carboy, right? It's messy. And then I'll eventually flush it out with some water in another keg, or the same keg that's been washed out, with some fresh rinse water. Sometimes I'll put some sanitizer through it too, if I'm not going to use it right away, or maybe if I'm using it right away. That's kind of an optional step, I think. And that's how I do it. So I use CO2 to push all the cleaning solution through the lines. There's other ways to do it, which I want to get to, is to use like a fountain pump or an aquarium pump in a bucket of solution, and then use air to pressure that through your lines and save on the gas. I've been meaning to get to that point. I just haven't, because the old way works just fine. But it would save on the gas. So that's what I do. Let's see. Oh, damn thing jumped again. Hold on a minute. This dang thing. I scrolled the wheel down once and it jumped like 5 pages on me. I gotta go back and find my spot again. This happens every time I do a live stream. I don't know what causes it. I think there's so much content queuing up in the feed that one scroll down, it jumps a lot rather than a couple lines. And that's kind of it probably means I'm talking too much, right? Okay, feedback. Okay, Brian's talking to people and stuff. Good job, Brian. You're giving advice out there. I don't disagree with any of it. So let's keep going down the list. Great work, Brian. Let's see. Yeah. Kamado. Okay, question about getting a Kamado. How big is a Big Joe versus a classic? Big Joe is, well, there's a version 3 out now, but I think it's still the same diameter. It's a 24-inch grilling area. The classic, I think, is an 18. So I had an 18-inch like a char griller one for a few years, and it served me well, as long as you're okay with shuffling food on upper trays, lower trays, moving things around on the grill and doing things in stages. You can feed 6 to 8 people with that. I've done it numerous times, but it's always nicer to have more space. And like the Big Joe now, to be completely honest with you, I'm not a fan of the Kamado Joe brand anymore. If you haven't noticed, over the past few years, I've been pretty critical about their products being untested and prone to using their customers as beta testers and then expecting you to file. Okay, I'm going off on a tangent. Anyway, but now I have a 22-inch slow and sear Kamado by what was called Adrenaline Barbecue Company. Now they're called SNS Grills. It's easier to say, apparently. But the 22-inch is just right in the middle there, where it's not enormous like the Big Joe, but it's close. It can hold a lot of food in there too, and it's much bigger, of course, than the 18-inch Classic, and it's a lot cheaper than either one of them. Right now, they have a sale going on through tonight. I think it's like $1,200 for their 22-inch deluxe Kamado, which comes with all the slow and sear stainless steel gear and everything in there. So if you're thinking about getting one, go to their website right now, because it might expire at a certain time tonight. Anyway, what else we got here? Do I find English beers a little flat? Yeah, well, that's the style, right? I mean, a lot of their styles, that's, you know, they'll have a beer at 8 psi basically, but you got to keep in mind though, they may seem flat to you because I think you're in the U.S., I assume, or someplace where you like your beer cold, and if you have English beers, I've never been to England, but I understand they serve their beers a little warmer, like in the 50 to 60 degree range. I hear we Americans, we like our beer as cold as possible, out of tradition, like 35, 36, 37, 38 degrees Fahrenheit, that is. And at that pressure, at 38 degrees Fahrenheit, an English beer will taste flat because English beers are carbonated to be drank at a warmer temperature. So there's like this ideal gas law and a real gas law. If you've taken physics classes or read up on this topic, pressure, volume, and temperature are all proportional and interrelated in a closed vessel, right? So at a fixed pressure, if you lower the temperature, you'll get lower pressure. Lower pressure. I'm getting myself confused. So if you want to drink a fizzy English beer, drink it when it's warmer. It'll be higher pressure. This is why, like when I ferment, let's say any of these pressure fermenters at 15 psi, when I chill them down, because I do that at room temperature at 70 or maybe 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and I put them in a fridge, that 15 psi drops down to like 2 or 3 psi. And I have to now put it on gas in the fridge at chilling temperatures to get it back up to 10, 11, 12 psi, right? That's where I like to have my beers at 36 or 38 degrees, right? But with English beers, they're generally stored warmer, so they're pressurized accordingly. So at 38 degrees Fahrenheit, the English beer might be only 6 psi. But if you serve it at 50, it might be 10 or 11. So try that. But I would adjust my tap pressure after it's been pressurized, because it's already been pressurized. You lower your tap pressure now, it'll take a hell of a long time for it to drop again, unless you're always venting it and wasting gas. I always like to err a little bit on the side of undercarbonating than overcarbonating. It's much easier to correct. All right, let's see. Have I ever done a barrel-aged imperial stout? That was one of the things I wanted to do this winter and last winter. So this winter just started a week and a half ago, so I got time. I still may do one, but it's not going to be an actual barrel aged. I was actually going to cheat it like I do with my wines, my red wines and my white wines. I oak them by putting like oak chips, oak blocks, oak pieces in the actual fermenter as a substitute, and I'll probably do that. Maybe cheat a little bit with a little bit of maybe I'll find a source of bourbon barrels, scraps that I can use for that purpose too. But I would like to. Jake, why? Happy New Year, Larry. Greetings from NWI. NWI, Northwest Indiana, I hope that means, right? Yeah, so where you from? You from around Crown Point? You from Dyer or Gary? Yeah, let me know. Pen Pod likes my videos. Yeah, all right. Any Grainfather or Aurora do? Yeah, okay. So Grainfather, if I do another live brew day this winter, it'll be on the Grainfather, like I mentioned earlier. So that's a likely thing. So yeah, just don't know if. Well, probably if's a given, but when, basically. Let's see, gingerbread cookies. Oh yeah, that sounds good. A dessert beer. Yeah, the dessert beers. Again, it sounds great. It sounds good for a sample, but it's like when I brew like 5 or 10 gallons of something, it's like I have to really know I'm really going to drink it all in a short period of time, relatively speaking. Because if I make a beer that I like in small doses, it'll take me forever to get through it. So my philosophy is I tend to go more mainstream. I want a beer that I know I can pound a number of them in a row and still enjoy them each time, and also beers that I know or hope that other people will enjoy too. So I'm not the only alcoholic down here drinking everything all alone, right? I want people to come over and drink my beer, and if I don't have beer they like, then they don't come to drink the beer. They'll bring their own beer, which leaves me with 5 gallons of, well, your example would be gingerbread cookie ale beer, and I think that would be fine for a couple pints, but I don't know if I want 5 gallons of it. That's just my point of view, though. Brickstone. I never had a Brickstone. Can you buy my shirt? Oh, let me see if I can get this in here. Yes, this is mill, mash, lauter, boil, cool, ferment, carbonate, and drink. I just got this on Amazon. I don't even know where anymore where I got it. I just searched for like beer themed T-shirts, and that's what I came up with. I have a couple of others too. Let's see. Have I thought about canning? Are you talking about canning beer, canning wort, canning food? I can tomatoes and some other things like that at the end of the summer. I haven't done any pressure canning, just water boil canning. I don't have a pressure canner yet. I've been meaning to buy one. I just don't have one yet. Let's see. Every time I try to make a barley wine, I end up with a barley wine. That's interesting. That was probably the third beer I ever tried making. The first one was a high gravity Scotch ale, somewhat similar to barley wine in terms of high gravitiness. But I made that with an extract powder, dried malt extract rather than all grain. And I've been wanting to circle back around to making one all grain style and see if I can hit those high gravity numbers without having to add more sugar into it. It's kind of a personal challenge. I wanted to take up on that. But you definitely need a high alcohol tolerant strain of yeast in order to power through that. Otherwise, just like you say here, you'll end up with a sweet dessert beer or a high gravity dessert or high alcoholic dessert beer, which isn't bad in small doses, just like I said. Brian, thank you for sending the link to my Teespring page. Thank you very much. And let's see what else we got here, guys. Let me get a sip here. A question from Ryan Hall. How do I adapt your recipe spreadsheet to extract partial mash brew method? Somebody sent me an email about that, and I answered it haphazardly just a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if that was you or someone else maybe, but the upside to my brewing recipe spreadsheet is that it's free, it's customizable, and it challenges you to understand what's involved in the brewing process. All the formulas and variables are all out there for you to see and not hidden behind some black box packaged software tool, which bothers me. So that's the upside. The downside is that it's still a spreadsheet, and there's not a whole lot you can do with a spreadsheet to make it more like an actual flexible program. So what I've done with the spreadsheet so far, I'm actually quite proud of. To be able to support extract brewing, all grain brewing, different sparge methods, different units of measure, all this stuff that I had to add in due to popular requests. And much of which I don't even personally use, but I try to squeeze it in there because other people do. And it does not support A to Z how to do extract partial mash brewing, but you can still use it to calculate your original gravities, your final gravities, your bitterness contributions for your boil. I mean, you can still use it for all of that. And actually, I'm thinking about it now. I think you probably can, because I one of my more recent updates, I actually enabled the ability to add sugars and grains and separate them out on the recipe sheet as what their contributions are, and recombine them again later in the sheet. So I think you can do it. I just have to actually walk through it one time and see where it gets hung up. But I think it's already there. Let's see here. Any question? Any Kvik, whatever. I've heard that term pronounced so many different ways for that type of Norwegian yeast. And anyway, I do not, and I would like to. That's actually one of the experimental brews. I would like to get my hands on a strain maybe this winter and brew one, but I don't have. My local homebrew shop doesn't stock them, so if I get them, I have to order them or get them sent to me by somebody. But I'd like to try it. Let's see. Brian gets some props on his Brew Commander video today. I have not seen it yet, Brian. I've been busy building my video editing PC all day, so I hope to catch it some other time. I think the only thing I have from Blickman Engineering is an old burner they don't even sell anymore. I don't have anything from Blickman here at home for any reason. I'd be curious to see what that's about. Oh, somebody still says they can't hear me? All right, here, let me pull the microphone closer. I think that's better, right? Let me know if it's too loud now, or not loud enough yet. Brewing in a bag is easy to do, yeah. There's pros and cons to brewing the bag, right? You do save on some equipment and extra steps, but you need a larger vessel and a stronger back than you would otherwise to hoist that bag out of there, and you need a bigger kettle, of course, to hold the combination of all the grains in the water together. So you might save some money on not buying a mash tun cooler or something to do your mashing separately. True, and space and everything, but you need that bigger vessel to do it, which if you're buying stainless steel, gets more expensive of going from, let's say, a 10-gallon kettle to a 20. So everything's about trade-offs. Everything in life, right? Have I harvested yeast from a bottle? Yes, I have. I did a whole video on it just this past spring. I think it was harvesting Bell's Oberon yeast from a couple bottles, and I used it to brew a Bell's Oberon clone. And it worked well. It worked excellent. In fact, it was well worth the effort. If you go back and watch that beer tasting video where I tasted it, it was the taste was noticeable, because I think I used that house yeast from the bottle, and I used, I think, I can't remember which yeast it was, some packaged yeast, and they both tasted great, but I find myself pulling the tap for the house yeast strain that I cultured more than I did for the packaged yeast. Totally worth it. Depends on what you're trying to do. If there's a certain yeast strain of a certain beer style that you know and assume the yeast is a major contributor to the flavor and everything, absolutely it's worth doing. If it's just a yeast strain that's just kind of clean and neutral and doesn't really contribute to the flavor, then you're kind of wasting your time and just use packaged yeast, is my opinion. But there are certain styles where you want to use the yeast that came from the style if you want to really replicate it right. So somebody else, Roderick. Larry, now that my draft setup is balanced, thanks to you, I picked up 4 carboys to start my home brewing journey. Excellent. Good to hear. So you're coming in from like a guy who is a kegerator that was buying commercially purchased beer at the local liquor store. You're probably buying small kegs and stuff. And that's right. And you were having problems with foam, right? That's a common one. So I have a spreadsheet in my recipe tab there, or my recipe spreadsheet. I have a tab there now where I have included that calculator in there. It's all in one now. So if you just download the latest brewing spreadsheet of mine, there's a tab for doing those calculations, and they've been spot on every time I've done them. So I trust my numbers now. And after getting feedback like this from a lot of people like yourself, because you're not the only one who said this about their draft system not working properly. So I'm glad I got it working for you too. Excellent. What's my favorite smash? So for those of you who don't know what smash is, it's single malt and single hop, right? Yeah, single malt and single hop. I don't think I've done that. I think I done a Centennial Ale video a while back, a few years ago, which was sort of a precursor to my Two Hearted Ale clone I did this past year. And I did single hop, but I may have had at least one other malt in there. I would like to do that. So that's one of those experimental things I'd like to do too, is start focusing on grains and hops and things. There's a couple of guys out there that do it on their channel, and I watch them too, and it seems enjoyable. But maybe I don't have a favorite yet because I haven't done one yet. Chad was I just saw Chad yesterday. We were celebrating a belated Christmas dinner for my side of the family, and he's doing well. I think he's planning on joining me, like I said earlier, on that brewery in Chesterton, Indiana. We're going to probably be out there for a meet and greet. Of course, you're from Uruguay, I just realized, so it's kind of far away. But he's doing fine. He'll be back. He's been busy this summer and fall. He's remodeling his house, and he's got people moving in, and he's got he's up to his armpits and stuff. So he's just too busy to come hang out and make beer right now. Okay, Hot Butcher. I've never had anything from Hot Butcher yet. No. What gap setting do I use on my grain mill? A question I've gotten before. Honestly, I haven't measured it in years. I think I followed some guideline from a home brewing book I had a long time ago, almost 20 years ago, and I tried it, and I've tweaked it a little bit here and there since then. For my base malt, it's a little tricky because different types of malts benefit from different grain or gap sizes in your mill. I found out over the years, but for a base 2-row malt, well, for any of the malts, the goal is that you run some grain through there, and you look at what was crushed, and what you want are so for every grain you want probably a good 3 to 4 chunks of it broken up of the germ exposed, right? So you want to coarsely crack them enough to crack them into 3 or 4 large pieces and some smaller ones, but you don't want to turn it so fine and close that it also turns the husks into like a powder or a flour either, because that will clog your false bottom or your manifold, right, when you're doing your mashing. So it's really a trade-off, but I got it set the way I like it. As you can see in some of my videos, I show a shot of the bucket of grain right after it's been crushed. That's what I like. That's what I like to see. I found that certain things like wheat, if you're doing malted wheat, you definitely want to probably run it through a couple times in your mill because it's a harder grain. You want to break it up a little bit more, but not like powder, because that will also gum up your works too. So it's a balancing act, and different types of grains and different kiln levels of the grains can impact how hard the grain is, and maybe if it will crack enough or not. So all I can say is, if you want to get really anal about it, you just do some test runs on various styles of grains, adjust the gap until you get that 3 or 4 chunks of a grain into 3 or 4 new chunks, and then you can write a little note saying, oh, for Vienna malt, here's my gap size. For Pale Roll 2 malt, here's my gap size. That's all I can suggest, I think. Let's see. I got a comment held for review from Derek Barrington. It was harmless after all, but it was an auto flag. Sorry about that if it tagged it. But so you have a version of Hogarden that goes by 2 names. Yeah, we call it Derek Short Wit and Derek's White Hole. Okay. That's probably why it flagged it. That's great. Marty Stempelkoski. Hello. How you doing, Marty? Lots of comments here. Homebrew Tour 2020. Homebrew Tour? Well, I'm going to go around the country. Well, I am going to that place in Indiana, and I wasn't in discussions with Spike Brewing to come up there once upon a time up to Milwaukee where they're at, but I guess that fell apart. I'm not sure why. But yeah, a homebrew tour. I think that would be kind of cool. This National Homebrew Conference that Brian mentioned here. I'm planning on going to that this year. I planned to go to it last year, and then we booked a family vacation coincidentally over that same time, and I didn't want to cancel that family trip. So, but I have it on my calendar for I think it's in June, right, Brian? I'm gonna try to get there. I think it's in Nashville, and that's like a long day's drive for me. I don't even have to fly, so I could bring all my gear with me, all my cameras and microphones and everything, and maybe do a little bit of walking the show floor and doing some vlogs while I'm there, right? Brian here did that. If you go back to his channel on Short Circuit of Brewers, he did that a lot last year. He had probably a dozen or more vlogs from being there on site. You know, I don't know if I'd go to that extreme. I mean, I might. I don't know. Maybe I'll get wrapped up into it and just be like a full-time like vlogger with my headset on, walking around talking to random people. Who knows? Who knows? I've never been to one of these things before. Just never have, right? Let's see. Some more questions. What's the favorite beer I brewed? It's a tough one. My favorite beer that I brewed is the one I just brewed most recently. All the time, right? So by default, right now it's Vienna Lager because that's what I recently brewed and it's great. Favorite beer, I can't say with any certainty I have a favorite beer because I love them all. They're like my children. I don't give birth to them. I mean, I birthed them via the brew day, yeast, and fermentation, right? But yeah, depends on the time of year. I think one of the most amazing ones I ever made, though, was the first version of the Zombie Juice, the NEIPA #1 I had done. That was just, I mean, just the aroma and the flavors right out of the tap was just like, boom, wow, I mean, that really was memorable. Every other beer was more normal. So I guess if I had to say a favorite, I'd probably say that one. But really, I go around the horn. I have a new favorite every time I pick up a beer. My current favorite beer is the one I'm holding in my hand at any given time. I got a question here. Do you know brewers like Southern Tier's Blackwater Series get their beer so sweet? I do not. I've never had any of their beers. I have a hunch though. I mean, there's this chemical that's used in winemaking because I make wine too. You can probably see it over my shoulder. I got wine all over the place here. In fact, I have a wine video coming out, so stay tuned. It's been a year and a half. I've been making this video piece by piece for a year and a half, and I'm finally able to put it all together and show you this new video that's coming out soon. But I digress. Potassium sorbate is an ingredient that you can get at homebrew shops that stops, it basically kills the yeast and keeps whatever residual sweetness is in there. And with wines, I'm sure with beers too, you can actually back sweeten by adding some kind of sweetener back into the wine because you've killed all the yeast by adding the potassium sorbate. So now you can add all the sugar in you want, and the yeast won't touch it anymore, and it will stay that sweet. So that's my guess, but don't know for sure. Is pressure fermentation really worth it? A question from Alan Freeman. Almost everything is, the answer is it depends. Do you have the patience and capacity to make lagers, if that's your thing, the traditional way, or do you want it quickly and easily done without having to get a refrigerator and a chamber and a lagering fridge and all that stuff? Well, then yes, absolutely, it's worth it. If you don't do lagers, don't care, and all you do is ales, it's not so much worth it. What's good about it is that you can do a pressure transfer out of it and right into a keg or a counter pressure bottle filler. That would help for those. So if you're into pressure transfers, that would be great for that too. But generally speaking, when I started doing pressure for fermentation with the ales, it was more of a curiosity thing at first, but then I realized that it does change the flavor of the beer a little bit. It made it a little better in some way. I don't know. It's very subjective, but it's definitely positive if you're doing lagers. Let's see what else we got here. Ever done a smoked jerky recipe? Yeah, smoked jerky. Let's see. I just scrolled past myself again. Dang it. For crying out loud. Where did it go again? Smoked jerky recipe. Yes. Yes and no. No, actually, no. No. I haven't done any. I thought I did. No, I have not. It's on my to-do list, and I will be doing it probably this winter, maybe this spring, when I got some downtime. I'm not doing a whole lot of stuff in the summertime. It's pretty easy to do, especially on a Kamado like mine. Yeah, I've smoked salmon at 150 degrees or so on this thing before. You can get a pretty good low smoke on some of these Kamados, like the current one I have, this SNS Kamado. But I will be doing some. I got some recipes from some friends and neighbors who are avid hunters, and they always take pride in their venison jerky recipes. So I might try to adapt a couple of those for like maybe some beef strips or something, or maybe I'll get some venison from them. Maybe I'll make something from a deer. Who knows? Let's see. Do a pressure IPA video. Yeah, okay. Well, I did do that a year ago. That was that zombie juice. I did a couple videos like that. I think. My mind is going crazy. I can't remember a year ago anymore. Honestly, I think I did one. Using a deep freeze for a Corny Kegerator with an Inkberg controller. People do a deep freeze. You mean like a Keyser, a chest freezer lifting lid? People do it all the time. It's quite common. You could do it. You just need, just like you said, a controller to control the on and off, and off you go. Most people end up raising the lid with some wood framing and putting taps on it, of course, too, right? So you can go all out. Absolutely can do that. Let's see. Some people, I've seen the little bits of trolls that people have been suppressing. Thanks, Brian. He's on top of things here. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, folks, I'm just getting caught up here. I mean, you guys really do type a lot. Surprised to see the flavor. Spreadsheet question about flake barley. First time using it. I was surprised to see that the flake barley appears to add gravity points. I just want to make sure that it's normal and correct. Well, but probably does if it came from somebody's source site. I mean, generally, see unmalted barley. Let me think this right. Unmalted barley, or unmalted grain, has some contribution to, because there's going to be some sugars in it, and you crush it up, and there's going to be some stuff in there, although it won't be germinated so it's like plants, herbs, seeds. They have an endosperm, they have the little food supply, and the germ, and it's all in a husk and everything, right? And it's mostly starch initially, right? And when you do the mashing, it takes the starch and it converts it to sugars, or the enzymes in the mash convert the starches to simpler sugars. And starches are basically complex sugars too, right? So there's sugar in unmalted stuff. It's just not as available as malted grain. That's why you buy malted grain, because it's got a lot of sugar in it per pound of grain, whereas unmalted stuff, it'll have some, right? But I think that value probably came from someplace else, because I didn't test that. That probably came from some supplier's a data sheet or something, somewhere along the line. Cryo hops. I have not used cryo hops, so I've been wanting to try that. Brian's already answering questions for me. See, I should just skip ahead. I think Brian's already answering these questions before I get to them. Brian says flake barley has starch to convert. Well, he said something in 3 seconds that had taken me like 3 minutes to explain. I should have just looked ahead. People bouncing questions around. Have you used your brew rig for water bathing canned goods yet? No, I have not used that for water canning, although I suppose I could. That's not a bad idea, actually. Maybe I'll have to try that at the end of the next summer. I was just actually having a conversation yesterday with my brother Chad about doing sous vide rib roast, prime rib. Yesterday, we had a family Christmas outing, right? And my brother-in-law Jeff, you never met Jeff, but he bought a nice big 20-pound, a giant rib roast for Thanksgiving or for Christmas dinner. And he decided to experiment. He cut it into like 2 chunks, and he roasted one in the oven traditionally, and the other one he put in a sous vide pot with the stick and everything, and he cooked that for hours. And we had both of those to sample with, and that made me think, hey, that was a really good sous vide prime rib you had there. I'm thinking about maybe trying something like that in the Grainfather. As big and as tall as it is, that whole roast could have turned on its side and fit in that whole vessel, and could have sous vide it in the Grainfather next time, because it was so good that way. So I've been thinking about trying to put it to use for cooking. I just haven't done it yet. A lot of thank yous from people who are new at this, getting them into the hobby. You're welcome, all. Love the spreadsheet. Yeah, you're welcome. Now, the thing with that spreadsheet, over the years, there's new brew tools out there that have come out more and more in recent years, and then some of the older ones have gotten better. But it's starting to make me wonder about the usefulness of having my own, of maintaining my own spreadsheet, going forward, because it's kind of time consuming doing the updates and testing out changes, because you never know. You think simply adding or changing something small would be no big deal, and you find out that it throws errors somewhere else on another tab or something. And so you really need to do like a full test of the spreadsheet under various use cases to try to break it, to see if it does every time you make a change. And it's very time consuming to do. So it's a labor of love. I still like it because I made it. I still use it because I'm comfortable with it. But how much longer into the future am I going to keep doing that? I don't know. It sounds like there's some pretty good tools out there now. But so far, I'm staying the course. I'm still going to continue to offer it and update it as I need to. I had a question from Tom Manning. Am I going to enter a rib competition this year and take home the win again? Yeah, I'll probably go back to the one that I've been going to the past couple of years. That's just more of an informal bragging rights thing. As far as a real rib competition, I don't know. I got the pop-up tent. I got the whole banner. I got the portable grill. I got everything I need to do it. It's just the ambition and time to travel to do so. So I'm not sure. Every weekend's got like a lock of my time for something or another going on, that I just gotta go do this, gotta go do that. It's like, can I block out a whole weekend to travel somewhere and cook and clean up? Probably not as often as I'd like, but I'll keep my eyes open. I'll see. Can I add more slots for hops in the spreadsheet? Yeah, you sure can. You just unlock the spreadsheet and you add more rows and adjust the formulas on the recipe tab. You're going to have a hard time trying to fit all that on a single 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, though. That's the real limiting factor, because all those tabs, from the greens tab to the hops tab and all these tabs, it's like not free form, but they're well spread out there. So you can add rows there, no problem. The problem is that when they map over to the recipe sheet tab, and everything is really compressed on there, like really tight. And how much work I put into trying to resize all the cells and merge and unmerge and and rearrange all the cells in rows so everything looks and compacts and fits on one sheet, you'll find that you may have to do stuff there to make it fit on a page. But yeah, I think you can do that. And you must be a real hophead, because I think I have like a half dozen spots there or something, or 8 or it's more than just a few. So you must really like hops. Because I thought what I had there was more than enough for most people. I didn't even think that would run out, honestly. Where can you get a BEER-N-BBQ pint glass? Well, I don't have pint glasses yet. All I have are these. This is the last one for sale that I have, and they're just mugs. So they're not pint glasses. They're 16-ounce mugs, not so they're still pint, but they're not traditional pint glasses. You know, because it's got the handle on it and it's straight walled and everything. But I still have those. You know, if you're interested in getting one, just reach out to me on my website or through social media or email or whatever, and I'll give you a quote. I just need your mailing address to give you a quote for shipping, which is actually sometimes more than the cost of the mug. I've been wanting to get. I've been actually wanting to get. Let me think here. I got these Glencairn glasses. Right. I was wanting to put like a logo on for some whiskey or a snifter. It's, you know, kind of like a snifter glass, and put like the logo on there. But wanted to do that. But the problem, pardon me. The problem with that is cost. They cost a lot. Most of these glass distributors and makers, they want you to have a minimum quantity that they want you to pay to ship to you, and it's heavy freight and fragile. So the shipping costs a lot of money. Having a minimum order costs a lot of money, and then when I get them, then I have to then buy my own packing equipment. So I have to buy boxes and packing foam and peanuts and all this stuff, and then I have to then pay to have it shipped to you guys, which also costs a lot because of the weight and everything of the glassware. It's not a very efficient process at all. I mean, I basically lose money every time I sell one of these things. So I'm just trying to get rid of them at basically my cost. But so going further down the road of doing more glasses, unless I find a company that will drop ship custom glassware, I'm not going to probably do it. I'm probably done with the glassware industry, retail practice or whatever. I'm done. Let's see, what else we got here? Am I a liquid or dry yeast brewer? I'm both. Yeah, I'm both, baby. I got, for years, many years, I was all liquid yeast, because back when I started brewing in the early 2000, or like around the year 2000, but I was reading about it late in the 90s too, though. So I was kind of becoming familiar with it. And back then, dry yeast still had kind of they were almost non-existent, and the ones that did had a bad rap. It's not being as quality, and there was very few of them, very few strains. So if you wanted a certain style, you had to get the liquid strain version. Right. So now, but there's a lot of dry yeast strains out there. Almost every beer I made for the past year was made with a dry yeast strain, except for the one I cultured from a bottle, I believe. And my Marzen recently, I think, was a liquid yeast. But I'll just go wherever the recipe says I can go. I mean, I'd rather use dry yeast because it's cheaper. But if there's a certain style that I feel that a certain strain of liquid yeast would make it better, I will definitely still buy the liquid yeast. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. All right. Oh, geez, the thing jumped on me again. See, this does this every so often. And now I have to go back up to the top of the list and find where I was. Okay. Okay. I'm getting close to the end of the run here. All right. I'm getting caught up here, guys. Am I using a spunning valve on the spike vessel or still using the pressure transfer valve? I am still using the pressure transfer valve. I don't see any reason why you would use. I've heard this already. People have already written me to warn me or let me know that Spike is now telling people that they should be using a spunning valve on their Spike Plus fermenters and not relying on the PRV attached to the gas manifold at the top. And the reasons for explaining it and the rationale for it is a bunch of bunk. Honestly, in my opinion, it's CYA legalese to cover their asses, because if in case something happens, they can point to you and your spunning valve as the source of the problem and not theirs. The truth is, the Spike Flex Plus, I think, holds like 7+ or more gallons of beer. The gas manifold is at the very top and raised way above the surface at the very top of the dome. It's way up there. The only way you're going to get that thing to clog is that you fill that thing all the way to the top, and the foam then goes up into the manifold and clogs the PRV. Right? That's not going to happen if you're putting 5.5 or 6 gallons of fermented beer in there, like I do. It'll never ever get to that high. And if it did get to that high, and you fill that thing up by mistake, and the foam gets up there and clogs it, well, it's going to clog your spunning valve PRV too, because it's at the same exact height, right? So you have a PRV here, and your spunning valve PRV here, and the foam comes up and goes into both. Well, then they can say, well, hey, use your own. So if it's the reason for the thing blowing up or popping a gasket, then they can say, well, you had a defective spunning valve. I just think it's kind of silly, but whatever. I'm just starting to ramble now. But no, I just use the PRV that's on there. It's set to 15 PSI, and that's exactly where I want it. So why would I use the spunning valve? Plus, when I do put my spunning valve on their gas port, it leaks CO2 a little bit. It defeats the whole purpose of doing it. So there's something wrong with their valve, their gas port valve on the manifold. Maybe the one they gave me isn't working right. Who knows? Whatever. Maybe it's the gas port on my spunning valve too. I mean, I don't know, but I never had to bother with it. I think it's just overreacting, honestly. Oh boy, Brian, are you playing with the trolls? Do we have to get in there and ban this guy? Let's see what his message was. Oh, all right. He's just being silly, I guess. Keep an eye on him, Brian. Yeah. So I got a question here from Paxton. 5.25 gallons of Pinot Gris juice. Oh, good. Might wait till your wine video comes out. Well, okay. It's not the same exact thing. This new wine video that I'm about ready to post, hopefully any day now, once I can get it finished, is about a wine kit. Now I've got a video, an actual white Pinot Grigio from Juice video already out there from like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. So go take a look at that video, because that will walk you through the actual process of fermenting a white juice like a Pinot Gris. My other videos were like making red wine from also juice, not recommended from experience. Making wine from grapes, the traditional way, highly recommended. Lots of work, but payoff is perfect. It's awesome. Now this other new way, a wine kit. Now you guys see like wine kits out there that in those boxes, and it's all concentrated, and you have to add water to dilute them, and then you put some yeast in them, and well, those wines are worse than the juice wine, red wines that I made in the past. I mean, they're thin, they're weak, they're just, they taste like your tap water or your, it's just not the best kind of wine. Yeah, it's wine legally, technically, but is it great? Do you want to share it with your friends? Probably not. Want to show it off at parties? Probably not, right? But this wine kit stood out, the one that I chose, because it was the only wine kit out there that actually packages the skins in the box with the juice. So yes, the juice is still concentrated, and yes, you have to use some spring water and stuff like that to like fill it up. but they also provide you the skins in a vacuum sealed pouch that you then macerate in with the juice, and it's kind of like starting on step 2 of crushing grapes winemaking. And I did a whole playlist on how to make wine from actual grapes too, about 6 different episodes, I think it is. And I walked through every little step in there. And so this kind of skipped like the first step, I think, in a way, by having the skins prepackaged. And it turned out really good. It took a good year for it to like develop, just like any wine does. Whites are the exception. I'm referring to reds mainly now. But it, you know, because it's a Merlot, and Merlots could peak after 2 to 3 years, and it's only been a year since I bottled it. So anyway, that video is about a kit, and it's specific about the kit, and I think it's a good kit, and I would recommend it. I will definitely do it again. Let's see. Let's see. Ryan, I convinced you to do away with secondary fermentation. Yeah, you don't need a dick with any of that stuff, guys. Pardon my French. I mean, it's just, I mean, if you like the extra work and you like your hands-on and you like to play with your stuff, it's entirely up to you, but it's completely unnecessary. And for me personally, I see it as extra work, unnecessary extra work that puts your beer at risk of oxidation and contamination for no reason whatsoever, other than you just want to fart around with your beer because you're impatient to wait until it's done. All the way. So me, I just wait. I just write it out, put it in the fermenter, let it wait till it's all done and fermented, let it sit for a few more days to settle out, and then you rack it there. There's no problem with any of that. Let's see. What else we got here? I'm scrolling a little bit quicker here, guys. Oh. They jumped ahead on me again. I thought Pussycat. No, there's Kyle Hove. Hey Kyle, how's it going, man? Saw that Kyle's the owner, along with his wife, Brewing America. You might have seen some of my videos. I don't have one within easy reach, but I kind of do. Yeah, I do. So they're the company that makes like hydrometers, right, of all kinds here. So he sent me one, this new one, this Pro Series one. I showed it briefly in my live stream back in November during that live brew day, but I have yet to follow up because I haven't made a batch of beer since then. But that definitely was a big help. My eyes were very thankful for having the larger space in the gaps. What I'm talking about is that the typical home brewing hydrometer is only about this tall, and all the little tick marks are so spaced close together that when you put them in the vial and you spin it and you let it settle, the meniscus is hard to see and decipher where the level is along with the line in those little tube jars. And the older you get, you'll see that it's harder than ever to like decipher where the lines are because your eyes change when you age. So now with these other series, which are akin to like lab grade hydrometers, they call them, they're a little taller, but the scale is broken up into largely 2 scales, like a 1060 and down and 1060 and up. This one is sort of like a hybrid. It goes from like 1.0 to I think 1.1, which is about as high as you're going to get with most beers, I think, right? But it doesn't go all the way up to 140, so it's got more room to spread out those tick marks. So those little tick marks are much easier to see now, and I really do appreciate that. That was a big help. Let's see. So, do we ever get to meet Mrs. Larry? Well, there was. You may have seen her in one of our videos this past earlier this year. Where I think it was the Bell's Two Hearted video clone that we did. I think she did a cameo in the last half of that video. She came in and did pouring all the samples, and we dragged her back on camera for like 20 more minutes and like chit chatted with her. But she's not. She's a little camera shy. She'll be in front of the camera in the right situations, but she's not comfortable in front of the camera. So I'll see if I can get her out again. Let's see. Omega Chicago shop local. Oh, yeah, so Omega's a local yeast in Chicago. I didn't even know that. Huh. All right. Oh, so there's a suggestion to make a beer with my spreadsheet and a web-based system like Brewer's Friend or BEER-Smith and see how they compare as far as results. Well, I had BEER-Smith I mean, I still have a copy of it too. I mean, I was doing that for a long time. I was actually using their system and my spreadsheet, and I was comparing numbers for every brew, and I like mine better. Mine were always more accurate. So I'm not all that confident in using a web-based system, because as long as they continue to use generic grain lists with their generic PPG values for the points per gallon for the gravities, as long as all those tools still use those, I won't use them. I'll still use my spreadsheet because it's accurate. It's actually using the actual maltsters data sheets and getting their values about their grains from their own reports and using them. So I have a much more accurate gravity readings and measurements along the way. I use any of those other tools. It's just shooting in the dark as to what the numbers. I mean, I'll get numbers, but it doesn't mean they're actually good numbers. But yes, that's a good idea. I would like to do that again. Maybe that is a topic for a video. I think that might actually be worth doing, because I did it. I've proven it to myself many times to the point where I just stopped trying to compare them and carried on with my spreadsheet. It probably would be nice to go back and take a look at that and see if I can come up with a video out of something like that. But I also don't want to piss off people too, right? So it's kind of like it's like well, mine's better because, I don't want to get into that whole thing. But I think it would be interesting to do it. It's just I mean, we're all part of the homebrewing community, and I don't want to be the guy that's got a grudge or causes some kind of rift in the homebrewing community over something silly like comparing recipe calculators. But that would be interesting, I guess. So maybe, I don't know. All right, going down the list here. Oh man. Jeez, why does it keep jumping pages? I hate this. Every time I go to scroll after a few minutes, it jumps like far down the list. Okay. What temperature do you age bottled lager? Did somebody ask that question or answer that for them already? Temperature do you age bottled lager? Oh, you're talking about like lagering in the bottle, like, so rather than lagering in a fridge in like a carboy for 8 weeks, you're talking about like going right to bottles and then chilling them. And I've never done that, but I assumed if you're going to be doing that, it would be the same temperature as if you were actually lagering it in a bulk vessel like a carboy. I should work to license the mugs and glasses with a print shop to be able to make and ship for you. Well, that's what I'm saying. To find a business that will do the drop shipping for me, so I can take myself out of the equation of having to be the gopher running to and from the post office all the time. That would be great. I tried for months once upon a time and I failed. So, and that wasn't too long ago. So if I can find something new since then that will do it, that would be great. Got a question here, more questions. The reason why I have the 5-gallon pail, so from Paxton, going back about the white wine, because of my video. Oh, because you go, so you've already seen it. I got you. Okay, so you're already aware. I don't know what people have watched and they haven't. I just have to presume as if you're talking to me, because you actually aren't talking to me. So I just have to kind of put words in your mouth in a way and try to answer your questions from my understanding of them. But I should have, yeah, makes sense. Let's see. So you want to send me some of your homebrew, Paul? Yeah, I suppose if you want me to, yeah, I mean, if you'd like to, yeah, I can give you my address. Just reach out to me on any one of those options. Yeah, my website, email, or social media. You can get a hold of me there. And Let's see. Trying to get caught up on you guys here. I know you're hyping and I'm answering these things like 10 minutes later. Let's see. I would like to use a Kvik yeast. I just don't have any on my hand right now. I would like to get my hands on some. I would like to try it because it's like the current fad, right? I mean, those yeasts have been around for a long time, and now it's all of a sudden it's a hot topic. I remember just a couple of years ago, New England IPAs were all the rage, and everyone wanted to brew them. And before that, it was I'm already starting to forget. Just a couple of years ago now, but it's the current hot fad, and why not? I'll give it a shot too. It's something I've never done before. I would like to do something new. Sure. Let's see. All right, I think we're down to the end of the list. One more question from Ellen. How long does it take you to keep your malt info up to date? I have something automated. No, I have nothing automated. It's a huge pain in the ass, and that's another reason why I was kind of contemplating how much longer I'm going to be maintaining the spreadsheet, because in practice, I mean, every year is a new harvest, and every year they do the analysis, and every year they post new data sheets. Now, I don't think I've updated my spreadsheet in a couple seasons now, right? Because the time it takes to go through all those links on all those hundreds of different malt brands, and and every website, some of them hide them. I mean, that basically hard to find on the websites. Some of them throw them right there on the main screen, and it's easy to find, and then you have to calculate all the values and stuff in there. So it's not automatic, and it's a huge pain in the butt to do. But personally, and I would suggest that you do the same, is that if you're using the spreadsheet, you can actually add and modify all those properties yourself. If you're about to brew a batch of beer and you want to make sure that you have the latest information for that malter, you can go to their website at the links I have in that spreadsheet, or find them on your own, and then go ahead and then punch in those values into the spreadsheet. It'll calculate the grind, the PPG values, and everything from that data that you enter in off your sheet. And so when you go to brew that specific beer using those specific yeasts or yeast grains, then you'll have more confidence that you'll be using the right numbers for that batch of grain. What else we got here? What piece of home brewing equipment should you not buy on the cheap? That's a good one. Not buy on the cheap, because that's a relative term, right? Because you can you can brew beer a lot, at least at a smaller scale, with stuff that you largely have on hand in the house. I mean, like a large stock pot, for example, you can repurpose it for like brewing a small batch of concentrated wort beer, right? You can do all kinds of things, but not go cheap on equipment. That's a tough one, I guess. Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, if somebody else wants to throw their advice out there while I'm pondering this, by all means, go ahead. I mean, my first gut reaction is your kettle, because it's going to get used a lot. But honestly, I had an 8-gallon aluminum pot, and before that, like a 3 or 4 gallon stock pot, and I still made beer in it, and it still tasted fine. And then, the equipment, maybe pretty much, you can brew pretty damn cheaply. So I'm trying to figure out what one item can you not go cheap on. I think you can go cheap on just about all of it, honestly, and just get into it gradually, piece by piece, and acquire new gear as you go along. I think the only advice I would give is that if you think you're going to be doing this for more than just getting your feet wet to try it out, and if you're fairly confident that this is something that you really want to do, I would say don't go cheap on the size of your pot, right? So, for example, don't do what I did initially over the years. Was in my earlier videos, you see me have this aluminum Polarware. They don't even exist anymore, I don't think, but Polarware was the name brand pot back when I started homebrewing. I, for years, wanted a Polarware brand brew kettle, and but by the time I finally got one, they were pretty much almost on their way out the door. But it was just an 8-gallon pot, and I was making 5-gallon batches. And if you see those old videos, I fill that thing all the way up to the very top, and I get it slowly to a boil, and I'm constantly stirring it to keep it from boiling over. And so my advice would be, don't go short on the pot. If you think that you're going to start off with 5 gallons and move up to 10, buy a larger pot right out of the gate and save yourself the extra cost of buying yet a larger pot again later. That's probably the only good advice I can probably throw out there, is to what not to go cheap on. So go ahead and get that 10-gallon pot for your 5-gallon batches, or your 20-gallon pot for your 10-gallon batches. Don't try to cut corners and risk the boilovers and the messes and the cleanups that you would get from going too cheap and too small. Let's see. Larry, you are our spirit animal. That's pretty funny. What was the one piece of equipment that you have that you love the most of all? Man. Most of all. You know what? The thing that saved me the biggest hassles was my 20-gallon brew pot with the 3 ports on it for the pumps and the thermometer and the different. I think that's probably my favorite piece of equipment, is my kettle. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. BEER-Smith. Yeah, I like BEER-Smith. I don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing other tools. I'm not. I use BEER-Smith. I switched from my spreadsheet to BEER-Smith, but I actually went back to my spreadsheet, and I had some very good reasons back then for it. Now, from what I understand, some of the newer versions of BEER-Smith over the years, they come up with, because back when I was using it, it was a desktop only version. There was no mobile interface. Whereas with my spreadsheet, I can just send it to my phone and my iPad or whatever, and I have it right there on me, and I can sit there and out in the garage, and I can brew off that screen. Whereas we're back in those days, I would have to like take a measurement and go, oh no, I have to adjust something on my recipe tab or my spreadsheet because the actual measure temperature is wrong. So I had to rush down to my home PC, throw my kid or wife off the PC, log into me again, open up BEER-Smith, enter the new value, print out a new sheet, bring it back out to the garage. What a huge PETA, right? But now that these tools have evolved since then, so all my reasons for not using it then are largely gone, except for a few little things left. But yeah, I have no problem with those other tools, other than that the recipe ingredient lists they use and some of the assumptions they have, aren't so forthcoming with the assumptions and the formulas they use in their calculations. They're kind of almost like proprietary in a way. It's all hidden behind an interface, which I don't personally appreciate. But if you're not into knowing the details of how, what, and why things are the way they are, then you may not care, right? Let's see. Kyle's got some ideas about my glasses, my glassware. Thank you, Kyle. If you could throw something my way, because I'm all about cool stuff, man. I'd like to put my logo on more stuff. And actually, personally, I would like to get away from using Teespring for other stuff. I mean, some of the stuff from Teespring is fine. Like the hat I got from them was okay, but the embroidery could be a little bit better. But they don't give you the option to do that. The t-shirts are fine and the hoodies are fine, but there's something else about one of their products that seem like their banners are kind of cheap, but most people aren't going to buy a big giant beer barbecue by Larry banner like I have in the back of a couple of my videos. So but if I can find a better quality drop shipper, I'm all for that too. Let's see. Question about potassium sorbate. How much would you use in 5 gallons? Well, I can't tell you now because I don't have my... See, this is a book on Scotch. This is a book on how to make mixed drinks. my winemaking books are in a different room, so I can't pull it up right now. But it's pretty common knowledge. You know, the internet, YouTube, right? Go out there, go search your question. How to use potassium sorbate to back sweeten wine. And there's a couple guys out there. I can't remember their websites now, but they're out there. There's some great advice out there on that topic, and books too, of course. Let's see. All right. Don't go cheap on glassware. That's true. That's true. Now, okay, so that's another thing with the glassware. What I got here? I got this. Okay, so let me try to get this close to you here. Kind of hard to see because of the glare, but this logo is really just a label that's been applied to the outside of the glass. I mean, you can actually feel kind of like the edge of the sticker, so to speak. So you can't put these in the dishwasher. You have to hand wash them. And I've been washing mine a lot, and I haven't had anything fade or anything off these because I hand wash them. People put them in the dishwasher and off they go. But I was actually wanting like painted or engraved or laser etched or something more permanently done. Now that raises the price, of course, too. But I'd rather have quality over quantity, personally. So I would pay more for that, but I've not been able to find a glass maker, a custom glassware labeler company that would actually do a 4 or 5 color logo that didn't have this on it. That was more robust than this. If anyone knows of one, let me know. I'll look them up. Let's see. Oh, a couple more questions here. Here's a very good question from John Douglas. When pressure transferring, how do you prevent overfilling the keg if the yield is a little more than you figured on? You can't see how much is in the keg with the spunning valve on. That is true, and that is a frustration, or can be. There's a real cheap, poor man's way of doing this. So if I take here's something that's along those lines. This is a prototype from Plato.io. They sent me a prototype keg scale a while back that would actually help with that too. But the point is that you would take a keg. I'm going to use a small one for example here. Let me put this over here. You can see that. And so this is a scale, but you can use any household scale that you have. You weigh your beer empty, right? You get your reading, and you take a full keg, put it on, take its reading. So if this was a full keg, like that, boy, that was heavy. And you take the delta, and now you know how much the beer weighs or is going to weigh in there. You can even do this with math. You can calculate the volume of water even to get approximation in that vessel to know how much weight that is. And you can use weight as your clue as to when you're done and not ever have to look in there. So that's one way to do it. So, but if you haven't yet done that and have a base number written down off to the side, sort of a cheat sheet to know, then you have to kind of feel it as it fills up, and then you have to take the lid off briefly to see how far up it is, and now you're exposing the air, so then you put the lid back on, and you got to purge it some more and let it fill up some more. It could be a pain unless you have a little forethought and do what I was just showing you and just use a scale or just calculate the weight. I think for my 5-gallon corny keg, I think it was close to like 50 pounds full. Can't remember what the empty weight was though. So anyway, let's see. You can weigh it. Oh, somebody already answered the question. Dang it. So if I just skip ahead. Okay. All right. So so Middle Fru says, before you go, just want to compliment on your mic. Great mix of bass and treble. Nice full room sound. Yes, this Blue Yeti microphone. Thanks to people out there, including many of you who've contributed to my channel in terms of PayPal or Patreon. I know I don't push these very hard on you guys because it drives me nuts when other channels do it regularly, like every video. And I'm also not much on begging, so I don't do it a whole lot. But those who have donated and sent me money, plus some of the advertised revenue I get from YouTube, has allowed me to buy things like this $100+ Yeti Blue microphone, monitors, gear. The webcam that you're watching me on is not cheap. So so the money's being spent and reinvested back in the channel. I'm not just taking the money and going on vacation with it. I wish I had that much money to go on vacation with it. But anyway, but yeah. So this microphone is real nice. I use it for some of my voiceovers in my videos, and but it's very sensitive too. It does pick up ambient room sound and things. Let's see. Okay, going back down the list here. I got a question. Let's see, no questions yet. Just some great comments, guys. Alan just bought a T-shirt from Teespring. Ka-ching! I think that bought me a new mouse, maybe, for my work here. Thank you very much, man. Awesome. Let's see. So if you're going to go big on one piece of equipment, what did you go big on? Well, that's kind of what I was saying before about getting a larger kettle than you think you need. So you don't have to buy another larger kettle and then also have the expense of the sunk cost of the smaller kettle. So that's something I've learned. Let's see. Do I still favor the immersion chiller most? Yes, absolutely. It is still my favorite. I mean, it's so darn easy, guys, right? I mean, you stick the darn immersion chiller into the wort 10-15 minutes before the end of the boil. It sanitizes. Then you hook up your hoses, you run your chiller through it. It chills it all down just fine and dandy. And then you transfer your beer to your keg or a keg, your fermenters, and you're done. Where I've been farting around with both the Grainfather counterflow chiller and the other one, the Kegerator. They're fine. They do chill, but there's so much more overhead involved. There's like cleaning and sanitizing before you use it, cleaning and washing and sanitizing after you use it, trying to get all the water out of the tubing and blow it all out. And it's just extra work. I'm not lazy, but I don't like doing extra work. If I can chill my beer down just as well, or almost as well, without the extra work, I'll just do that method. And that seems to be the immersion chiller for me. Yeah, in fact, I was actually been talking. I got that one chiller from the newer company, Brewing, which was a split off from Jaded Brewing. Jeremy, he's the owner of Brewing. He was a former partner at Jaded. So I have the chiller that he provided me. I used in that live stream brew day. It worked very well. I've actually also met the other owner, current still owner of Jaded Brewing, Clay. And we went out for some drinks a month or two ago, and we had a good discussion about some stuff. And I think I might be doing stuff with some of his products probably in the future too. So I'm still going to continue down the immersion chiller route, and unless I decide to go bigger than 10-gallon batches, then I'll go back to maybe looking at counterflows again. Let's see. My MOS in the Army? Oh, in Marine Corps. All right. I bounced around a lot. Let's see. I started off because I was in high school when I joined, and my goal was to either be a pilot of some sort, which fell apart when I tested for color blindness when I was getting into the Air Force Academy at the time, so I never made it all the way into the academy. I got rejected at the last minute, and I had to go find a new career path. So I said, well, I'll join the Army, but I also wanted to go to college still. So I went to college for engineering. I said, well, what does the Army have for engineering? I said, well, I signed up for I think it was 81 Bravo, which was a draftsman or a drafting specialist and surveying and map reading. It's kind of a combination. things. So you read maps, you did drawings, you did whatever. Never really did that though in practice. I went through all that training and ended up going right to a different school. I started doing heavy equipment, so I can't remember the actual MOS numbers anymore, but I was doing heavy equipment. I was doing crane, dozers, graders, road and bridge construction, heavy equipment kind of things, pile driving, those kind of things. And then I got into truck driving. So I was a 51 Mike, I think it was, which is just a big rig truck driver. I started doing that right before I got out. So I kind of bounced around a lot. Let's see, 8-gallon turkey fryer, drinking batches to a bucket. There's all kinds of good stuff here. Send your email. If you'll swap information. Yeah, Paul, let's see. Yeah. Well, Paul, what you can do to keep the trolls at bay, because I don't trust you guys on here, but every time I put an email address out, I get more spam than I got before. And it's just so I try to keep it close to me. But if you go to my website, I have a contact page there where you can enter your contact information and your email address, and I'll get back to you. Okay? So let's do that. Let's see. Thank you for your service. Fermenting under pro. Why not fill your keg from the out tap and put a blow-off tube on the in tap? Fill your keg from the out tap. Well, yes, that's what or just pull the check valve and turn it so it stays open, and then you can fill a keg up from there. But I would only do that if I didn't have a fermenter under pressure. If I was just that's what I do with carboys or anything that's not under pressure in a fermenter. If I'm doing a pressure fermentation, that keg pressure also has to be pre-pressurized to a delta below the fermenter pressure. So if I'm fermenting at 15 psi, I have to pressurize my keg to like 12 psi or so, roughly, before I begin the transfer. Because if I don't do that, it will shoot through there and foam all the way up, and I'll have a whole keg full of foam and only this much beer in the bottom before it starts gushing out the top of the blow-off tube and waste a ton of beer. So yeah, I do that for regular open transfers from a carboy, but not from a closed pressurized fermenter, because that's a mess. Let's see. What else we got here, folks? Vacation. What's your Philly keg service? Yeah, thank you for my service. Yeah, you guys are welcome. You guys are answering my questions before I can get down to them. Grr. I'm just kidding. Keep talking amongst yourselves. Let's see. The immersion chiller being. Okay. So like Brad says, that he agrees about the immersion chiller thing I mentioned before about why I prefer it in the wintertime, but the summertime it takes forever where you live. Yeah, like the warm groundwater. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten around that a lot with like a recirculating wort chiller, right? Did a video or two on that where I got a cooler and a fountain pump and a thing of ice water, and it just sort of recirculates and chills and pre-chills the water before it goes into the immersion chiller. I've also done it in some videos and off videos where I'll daisy chain two immersion chillers. One is the pre-chiller, which goes into a 5-gallon bucket of ice water. So the water goes in there, gets super chilled down to a certain point, and then goes into the immersion chiller that's in the pot. And that really brings down the temperature too. But downside is that you need a second immersion chiller. But the upside is that you can make one yourself for $25 or buy them for $50 or whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal. Let's see. Bedtime for Brian. Thanks, Brian. Hey, man, if you're not already off the call, see ya. Thanks for hanging out. I'm about to wrap this up too, guys. It's been 2 hours, but I'm trying to get down to the bottom of the list here so I don't leave anybody's comments unviewed and unanswered here. where the fudgesicles, did I get that scale? Was the question. I think I might have answered it. If I didn't, I think you were referring to the one I was showing before, which was this one. This this is this was just a prototype scale that Play-Doh at Play-Doh.io, they are actually shipping, or soon will be shipping, a production version of this. This was a rapid prototype made in a 3D printer, and it was just there for testing and evaluation. And so I gave it a try. My old Kegerator that I was using it on before, was the height was a little compressed, that it was throwing off the readings because it was kind of adding pressure and weight to the scale, throwing off the readings. But it was pretty cool. It had a mobile app, or it has a mobile app on your phone, that whenever somebody pours a beer, it'll tell you that somebody poured a beer because the weight just changed, you know. So it's kind of a way to gauge the fullness of your keg without actually having to have a float in there. I mean, it goes by weight, and that's kind of why I was explaining this in context of my idea of pre-weighing your kegs and getting an idea of what a full keg weighs like. So when you put your keg on the scale, whatever scale you have, and when you went through that process of trying to rack into it, then you say, oh, it's 40 pounds, 42 pounds. Oh, it's getting close to the top of the keg without having to open the lid and look. But that's not what this was for. This was actually for when you actually were in the beer, when the beer was in the keg, in the fridge. It would actually keep tabs on this, and it's also Wi-Fi enabled. So of course, then you can have it plugged into your home network and monitor it from anywhere you are, even away from home. Okay, guys, I think we're winding down here. I'm gonna scroll a little bit faster now, trying to get towards the end. Have I fermented in kegs? I have actually. I have never done that because I've always had my carboys, and my kegs were always for the beer. But I talked about that in one of the past videos. You certainly can. The only downside is that you have to have some headroom in there. So you have to either brew a smaller batch size or use 2 kegs to split the batch between. So, that you need a blow off hose probably too, because you won't have a whole lot of headspace in that one keg if you're putting it all in there. And that's one of the downsides to it. But as long as you can manage that and change your batch size and scale it down or up or whatever you need to do to fit 1 or 2 kegs based upon what you're trying to do with it, and you have enough headspace up there to control foaming from clogging the gas port, which is what you're using to vent out of, so it doesn't blow up or over pressurize. But it's got a check valve on top anyway, so it'll, if it over pressurizes it, it'll eventually gas. But you wouldn't want to do that to your yeast, though. Your yeast won't finish fermenting. I'm starting to ramble now. Anyway, have I ever used a tilt hydrometer? I have not. They are curious. I would like to have used one. I actually contacted them to see if they'd send me one to do a video on to show you guys, and they wouldn't do it. And honestly, I don't feel like spending the money on it, honestly, because I'm patient. I don't have no need to know what my gravity is any minute of the day for the first 5 days that I'm fermenting. I mean, I put my beers down here to ferment, and I forget about. I mean, they just stay here for 2 weeks. I mean, they just set it and forget it. I just go away. I don't even dwell on it about my beer and how it's doing and where it's at. I mean, so I know, and after 2 weeks it'll be done, and therefore I don't personally see the value of me spending my money on one. But I understand those who like gadgets want that. I mean, if I had one, I'd try it. I'd play with it for sure. I just don't know if I'd actually use it all the time, or after a while I might get bored of it and stop using it entirely. Maybe, or I could be wrong. Who knows? What am I sipping on? Vienna Lager that I made in that live or learned brewed homebrew day live stream. Okay, well, guys, it's after 10. One more question. Mystics, I want to fill a small keg and leave the remainder of the beer in the primary fermenter. Well, I guess initially maybe, but the problem with that is you're gonna have a bigger headspace now in your fermenter, and if it's fermented out, you don't have any CO2 in that headspace, and that beer is going to start to oxidize. Is my guess, which means it's going to start going stale and going bad. So yeah, you could, but I personally wouldn't do it. I would probably keg it all right then and there as best I could, then put it under CO2 and keep the air away from it. Let's see. Okay, guys. Yeah, Paxton, keep me updated, everybody. And thanks to Brian again. He's already off the air, but thanks to him for helping moderate. I went an hour longer than I thought, but it's been fine. No problem. I mean, I'm still on vacation. I don't have to work tomorrow. I don't have to get up or anything. So I'm just enjoying this. All right. So, hey, cheers again. Skål, Prost, Nostrovia, whatever your favorite phrase to your health is. And thanks for watching tonight. And I will talk to you in my next video, or correspond with you via email or social media, or whatever you want to do, I suppose. No, anyway, that was okay. All right, folks, see you.